Clinical trials for gene therapy. What is a clinical trial? A clinical trial is a research study that tests a medical, surgical, or behavioral intervention on patient volunteers. Clinical trials can also be observational, when patients are carefully monitored but don't receive an intervention. Does everyone get the intervention? Clinical trials have different protocols for who gets the intervention. There are 3 common protocols. 1. Everyone gets the intervention. 2. Some people get the intervention, some people get standard care. 3. Some people get the intervention, some people get a placebo. A placebo is an inactive substance that is used so that patients don't know if they got the intervention or not. This helps researchers see if the intervention itself is providing therapeutic benefit or if people just think it is. Standard of care is the current best practice for treating a condition. This standard care has already been approved by the FDA and is the typical care that patients with this condition receive. Will gene therapy clinical trials use placebos? We don't know for sure. In some cases, it may be unethical to use a placebo for gene therapy clinical trials. And for some rare diseases with low prevalence, researchers may find fewer participants willing to join a trial if they might get a placebo. However, this will vary by trial, so it's important to check with the research team. If researchers don't use placebos, what can they use instead to test effectiveness? Researchers and governing bodies are still determining what is acceptable, but here are some possibilities. Biomarkers, comparison to standard of care, patient disease status or progression, or comparison to real-world data for others who've had the disease. What are the phases of a clinical trial? In phase 1, researchers test if the treatment is safe, if people can tolerate it, what dose people can tolerate, and what the side effects are. This is usually done with a very small group of participants. In phase 2, researchers look at safety, short-term side effects, and see if the treatment is doing what it is supposed to do. This is done with a slightly larger group of participants than phase 1 trials. In phase 3, researchers look at the effectiveness and side effects of the intervention and compare it to a control. This phase is done with a much larger, more diverse group of participants. If a trial passes through phase 3, then the FDA approves the drug. In phase 4, trials look at long-term safety and effectiveness for the treatment. Are clinical trials safe? Clinical trials involve risk, which is why it's important to have a good understanding of the trial before agreeing to participate. But there are some oversights and protocols that aim to keep the trials as safe as they can be. Informed consent is the process of learning about a trial. Things you should learn about include the trial's purpose, how long the trial lasts, what procedures or tests are required for the trial, potential risks, and potential benefits. Participants are given an informed consent document that they need to sign that says they understand the trial and agree to participate. For children under 18 years old, a parent or guardian almost always has to consent to the trial. In addition, children over 7 years old are often asked if they agree to participate. There is also scientific oversight. The Institutional Review Board approves and monitors trials to see that the potential benefits outweigh potential risks, ensures clinical trials are ethical, and protects patient rights. The Office for Human Research Protections helps protect the rights, welfare, and well-being of study participants. The Data and Safety Monitoring Board does things including reviewing data to look at differences between groups and safety issues. The Food and Drug Administration makes sure studies are following their protocols and provides guidance to researchers. How do people find clinical trials? To find clinical trials in the US, go to clinicaltrials.gov. To learn more about clinical trials and gene editing, go to scge.mcw.edu.